Hello everyone, welcome back. In this lecture, we will learn about error handling in VBScripting. We have seen option explicit before, and I kind of commented the fact that it will enforce or force you to declare the variables before you can use them within your script. And that's the fact about its usage. So we are going to start with option explicit and then get into on error, resume next, and how to use the error object. Okay, let us jump in and first look at option explicit. So the option explicit will force you to declare a variable. As you can see in the script, I have not declared them. I directly assign values like num1 equal to 10, num2 equal to 20, and I'm trying to find the sum and print the message and say done. Let me run the script. And I got the message as 3030. So it worked with no errors. We are done. Now, it's a simple script with few lines, so it's kind of easy. But what if you're dealing with a script that has, 500 lines, thousands of lines, even more? It becomes very complicated, and you really don't want to leave this alone, meaning it will be very difficult to figure out where the variable is coming from, or if the variable has been declared or not, or where it is being used. So the best way is to make sure that we follow some best practices. The first thing obviously is declare this option explicit, and then you have to follow certain standards. The standard, something like this, you always declare variables at the top, variables and constants, and then do the processing. So the first part would be your option explicit, then make sure you declare all your variables and then assign values and then do the processing. So this could be your processing. Once we have this in place, if you try to run the script, it will error out. It says that a variable is undefined. You can see that here at the bottom. So in order to take care of this, we can say dim num1 comma num2 and save the script and run it. Now we ran into an issue with sum. Let us declare that as well, comma sum. And now let us run the script. We have 30 coming from line 17, and then we are done coming from 19. Well, that's it. That is the use of option explicit. Now let us move on to on error resume next. Here is a script, and it's pretty much doing the same thing. Option explicit, dim sum1 sum2, and then we have two values, 10 and 0. Processing is num1 divided by num2, which is like 10 divided by 0. And I said sum here, it's actually div, so let me say div here and change this to div to kind of keep it consistent. Next, we are done, and then we are doing another processing here. It's pretty much the same thing. Let me change this to div, but we are trying to do it again. So let me first run the script and then show you how we can use on error resume next. Control F5, and it shows an error. It says division by 0, that's error. You can see at the bottom as well. So now let's say you want to proceed further if you have an error there. So all you do is enter on error resume next, and let's say you finish the processing here. Oh, you know what, let us just talk about on error resume next. So once you run into this error, once you have this, if you have an error after that, it'll take care of it. But let's say if we move this to the top, So now look at the impact. Now it says we are saying option explicit, meaning every variable has to be declared. And then we are saying on error, resume next right after that. So if we remove this line, look at what happens. If we run the script, we are done. There is no error whatsoever, even though we have option explicit and we did not declare variables. Because what we did is we said explicit and then we said on error, resume next. If you have an error, just proceed. So it proceeded and just displayed this message. So which kind of makes no sense here. I'm going to remove that there and move this right before processing this line 18. Now if I do this, so of course option explicit will force you with an error here, line 13. Let me run it because we need to declare them. So I'm going to uncomment this, run this again. Now it says we are done. So let's see what happened. So it went through and on line 17 we said on error, resume next. And then this is where we had an issue. That means the value goes into this variable, the message that, so it's going to skip 20. And then we have this line, we are done. That is what we got. And then again, we are trying to divide as a pretty much the same thing we are doing here, but we call it processing 2, but we enable this line here, on error, resume next. That's why it did not complain about any issue with line 18 and 25. Let me run it one more time. We are done. No issues. But what if, this is a very simple case. What if you want to, do on error, resume next for this processing, but not for processing 2? For that, you will use on error, go to 0. This will reset your error handling, meaning it will disable this. So you have enabled on 17 and then you did some processing. It doesn't matter 1 line, 2 lines, 100 lines, it will have its impact. If you have an error, it will move further. But once you hit line 19, it will disable that. And then it'll start erroring out if it comes across anything. Let me do this. Control F5. And now we have an issue with the message box. It says variable is undefined because we have option explicit. Let us define that variable. Div. Now let us run the script. We have the blank message box here because this took care of this here. No error there, but div, it has no value. That's why we got a blank message box here. Click OK. We are done, coming from 23. Now look what happens. If I hit OK, it is now complaining that, it is division by 0 error. Because here we said on error, resume next. We said move forward, but line 19 explicitly disables it. And that is the reason why we are getting an error at line 26. Now we can do this way, or we can move this from here to here just to make sure that right before your second processing, you're disabling all that and making sure that if you get an error, you actually cache that. Well, if you're getting an error, we are just displaying it. The program ends. What if you want to react to the error? That's where the error object comes into picture. Well, we are going to talk about that in the next video because it's already been well over probably 8 minutes. Let me end this here. So in this lecture, we looked at option explicit and also we talked about on error, resume next. We also talked about how we can disable it by using on error, go to 0. And these are very simple examples and you can implement this when we do projects at the end of this course. Well, that's it in this lecture and I'll see you in the next.